What's up? Today we're talking about restrictions of rational expressions. A rational expression is a ratio, it is a fraction. So remember that when we have any number divided by 0, our fraction is undefined, which is no bueno, not good. So to state restrictions of rational expressions, you need to set the denominator equal to 0 so you can find the values of x that make that denominator 0. Basically, you're finding values of x that are not allowed to be part of your answer. So let's just take a look at an example. We want to state any restrictions of this rational expression. So we're looking to see what would make this denominator 0. Since it's just an x, the only number that would make x 0 is if x was equal to 0. So the restriction is that x is not allowed to be 0. So x cannot equal 0. That's it. Let's look at another one. So if I'm looking at this 2 over x minus 1, I would set x minus 1 equal to 0 to figure out what x would have to be to equal 0. Or I could just think, well, if x was 1, 1 minus 1 would equal 0. So here x is not allowed to be 1 because 1 would make this expression have 0 in the denominator. When we look at this next expression, we can't just set it equal to 0 because it is a quadratic trinomial. So we would have to factor it in the denominator, and then we can set each factor equal to 0. Here comes factoring yet again. You need to know how to factor in Algebra 2 and above. 2 times -3 is going to give you -6, and 2 plus -3 gives you -1. So here, x is not allowed to be -2 or +3 because that would make each one of those expressions 0, which would leave you with an undefined expression.
We'll look at one more example before you try some on your own. So if I write this expression and I look at the denominator and it doesn't factor, I can still try to set it equal to 0 to solve any other way that I can. So in this example, x squared minus 5 does not factor, but I could set it equal to 0. Add 5 to both sides, and then take the square root of both sides. X would equal plus or minus the square root of 5, which is some gross, disgusting decimal. So that's my restriction here. X cannot equal plus or minus the square root of 5. Now you have 3 examples to try on your own. Only factor the denominators and set those denominators equal to 0 to figure out the restrictions. Pause the video, try it, come back when you're done. For this first one in number 5, you did have to factor the denominator using split the middle term. So you multiply the first and last terms together. You list the factors of that new term. You're looking for the factors that add up to the middle term. You rewrite your middle term with those new factors in between. That's how you split the middle term, and then you factor by grouping. When we got the 2 factors here, x minus 2 and 2x plus 5, we can set those both equal to 0. 2x plus 5 is going to give us -5/2, and x minus 2 would give us a +2, so x is not allowed to be -5/2 or +2 in number 5. In number 6, we can factor that denominator into x minus 2, x plus 1. You're looking for the factors of -2 that add up to -1. So x cannot be -1 or 2. I get that from setting both of those factors equal to 0. And then last but not least, in number 7, x cannot be 1 because if you set that denominator x minus 1 equal to 0, you are going to get 1. So pretty simple. Set your denominators equal to 0. If you need to factor, factor, and then set your denominators equal to 0 to find your restrictions. Once you find your restrictions, you can do whatever else you need to do. Simplify, multiply, divide, whatever you need to do. But you want to state those restrictions first. Have a great day. See you next time.